guys, welcome back to Aaron's Vegan Vida. So for today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I make my favorite type of eggs. So growing up, my favorite eggs were this commonly known dish called Huevos a la Mexicana, which translates to Mexican eggs. And what that dish really was scrambled eggs with diced onion, diced tomato, and some jalapeno or serrano depending on your spice level. And that's really it. Honestly, it's super simple. And to veganize this recipe, I use tofu scramble. And I have actually previously filmed me making tofu scramble like a year ago when I made a breakfast burrito. But this is kind of my updated version. It's still very similar to how I used to make it. It's just that I simplified it for me and everyone else. So I like to cook my tofu scramble in veggie broth because tofu scramble is quite bland. So in order to absorb a lot of taste, you need to cook it in something. I used to pour in the veggie broth in the scramble for it to soak it up and then add the spices. What I did to simplify this dish is I added the spices to the veggie broth and then I whisked it and then poured it on the scramble so it soaks everything up all at once. And the key here honestly is black salt. I'll be talking about that later. I feel like I always talk about it every time I do an egg-based dish because trust me, this is super necessary when you're making tofu scramble. It like makes your tofu scramble taste just like eggs and it's delicious. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this recipe. It is super delicious, served on top of some toast. You can just eat it in the morning with some tortillas. You can add it with something else to make some sort of, egg tacos. It works perfectly in breakfast burritos. And in a couple videos ago, I filmed a what I ate in a day and I poured ketchup on my eggs. So that's what I do with tofu scramble as well. I love putting ketchup on my eggs. And if you don't like that, well, maybe you should try it because it's pretty good. And I hope you guys really enjoy this recipe. So thank you guys so much for watching. And little tip, this recipe pairs really well with my potato and chorizo recipe that I just uploaded. So if you want to go check that out, I'll link that down below. Bye! So to begin this recipe, I'm going to start off by pressing a block of some firm tofu. Firm tofu works best for this recipe. I have this tofu press to extract all liquid, but if you don't have one, feel free to wrap it in a clean kitchen towel and just place something super heavy over it. It works just as well. I have actually had this tofu press since the beginning of my vegan journey. It is a little bit gimmicky, but it has been useful ever since. So what you're going to do is drain out all the water from the tofu into the sink. Just pour it out, and then I'm just going to place it in between the plates and close it tightly and just let it vibe on the side for like 15 minutes till all that liquid is pressed. So in the meantime, while the tofu is being pressed, I'm gonna prep some of the veggies. First, I'm gonna be dicing up a small onion as finely as possible. And this recipe also calls for a small tomato. For this dish, I like to cut around the tomato and not add in any of the tomato seeds so that way the scramble doesn't end up too wet. And lastly, this recipe would not be complete without some sort of chili. I chose jalapeno, but you can use serranos if you want like actual spice. I like to cut around the jalapenos so that way the seeds aren't in the dish. And I just toss them out because to be honest, it's not necessary to make this dish so spicy because I prefer to just serve it up with a tomatillo salsa or hot sauce on the side. You know, like some tapatio, some Valentina. And here's what I'll need: some garlic, some diced jalapeno, some diced tomato, and some diced onion. Honestly, always prep your ingredients before you start cooking. It definitely speeds up the process. And these are the spices I'm using for the egg marinade: some turmeric, some black pepper, some kala namak, also known as black salt for the eggy taste, some veggie paste to make veggie broth, and lastly some nutritional yeast for some umaminess. Okay, so to a small ramekin, I'm adding in half a cup of vegetable broth alongside 2 tablespoons of some nutritional yeast. I love adding nutritional yeast. And to that, I'm adding half a teaspoon of some regular salt, half a teaspoon of some turmeric for that yellow color, and 1/4 teaspoon of some black pepper. and simply whisk this thoroughly. And that's it, guys. This is going to be your egg marinade. It's super easy, and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a tip. This marinade actually works well to make like tofu egg patties. You can use a block of tofu, press it, and then slice it up into even slices, and you can marinate them overnight or cook them on the stovetop. And this works well if you want to make some sausage egg vegan muffins. If you want me to go more in depth in a video, I will. Just comment down below. And as you notice, I didn't add the black salt. That's because black salt actually loses its flavor when you cook it, so I'll be adding it at the very end. So now for the cooking process, on a pan of medium heat, I'm going to be adding 1 teaspoon of oil, the 3/4 cup of some diced onion, and 2 minced raw garlic cloves. And I'm simply going to be cooking this until the onion is translucent and the garlic is fragrant. This only takes like 2 to 3 minutes. And a couple minutes later, I'm crumbing in the pressed tofu with my hands, and then I'm going to break it up with a spatula. You can do this to your liking. If you want to break this up into smaller chunks or leave bigger ones, that's completely up to you. Once I have my desired size of tofu, I'm going to be adding in the egg marinade and give it a thorough mix so every last bit of tofu gets coated. You're going to want to cook off the marinade so that the scramble is not too wet but not too dry, because I've noticed that when I was a new vegan, my biggest issue with tofu scramble was that it was too dry. So this method is honestly the best of both worlds. Leave it as wet as you like or as dry as you want. Once your tofu has reached your desired consistency, you can add the remaining vegetables. So I'm adding in the diced tomato alongside the diced jalapeños. So I like to add in my veggies last because over time I've noticed that I hate when my veggies in my egg scrambles are soggy. So I add them in last so they only cook for a little bit. I think this is just my preference, specifically with Huevos a la Mexicana. Like I feel like it needs to have a little bit of a crunch. Maybe that's just how my mom would make it. She wouldn't overcook the veggies too much. The jalapeños would still have that nice green color. That's just my preference, but you can do this up to you. I actually filmed this last week and I put in the veggies first, and then I was like, I gotta refilm that. I don't like when the veggies are mushy, so I'm gonna cook it to my preference. So I refilmed it for you guys. So now that everything is cooked, I turned off the burner and I'm adding in that 1/2 teaspoon of black salt that I mentioned earlier that I was gonna add in. I'll have a link in the description down below so you can purchase this black salt as well. It's actually relatively cheap. It costs like $4 to $5, depends on where you get it. If you live in a big city, you can find it like at a local Indian store, but I actually don't have one, so I purchased it online. And there you guys have it, the finished product. So I'm gonna plate this up with some black beans and some vegan queso. I do have a recipe video on how to make a homemade vegan queso fresco, and must I say it is delicious. So I'll link that down below if you guys are interested. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a thank you for all the love you guys have given me this entire year. This year has been hard for many of us, and I just wanted to mention how dark the world feels right now with this pandemic and all the other issues going on. I hope these videos bring some light to your life, some smiles, helps you forget about it. I know filming them for you guys helps me forget about certain things, and I just wanted to send you guys some positive vibes and a huge hug. And that's pretty much it, guys. Super easy 30-minute meal, probably actually like 20 minutes, and you can customize it so many ways. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. I can't wait to see how you guys recreate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.